Gentlemen, it's a great pleasure now to have a fireside chat with Santosh, who's a bit of a legend in the world of luxury here in India. And I'm going to be trying to understand a little bit more about how's India's definition of success evolved over the last 2 years. I suppose that's sort of what we're trying to understand. And I just want to sort of start off perhaps fast straight in. And we've just seen the 68-page report that's come out, the Mercedes-Benz Hurun India Index, and also the wealth report that we put out. And we can see in this index that we sort of look at luxury car sales alongside the super entrepreneur growth, alongside also the Sensex performance, and then the GDP performance. So, you know, Mercedes-Benz is not a brand here, it's more of a barometer. It's a barometer of the economy. So I guess the first simple question is sort of, how do you see the trends evolve? I mean, for sort of the growth of the entrepreneurs and the luxury consumer here in India.
So thanks Rupert for having me, and
perhaps just to start, can I ask everybody to give a warm applause for Santosh?
Thank you. No, thanks to Hurun for having me here, and also when I met Anis, we were discussing about a report. And we said that I think the growth in India is a bit correlational to how we were in India. And when you were doing the keynote, you mentioned a 2 trillion economy to 4 trillion in 14 years. If I give some statistics, we have been in India for 32 years now. We have sold close to 200,000 cars, 2 lakh cars in India. And the first 1 lakh cars came in 25 odd years. And the last 1 lakh cars have come in 5 to 6 years. So you can see the exponential growth that's happened. So when we were discussing, we said many countries have MAC index or different barometers to see. And Hurun is, I think, a trusted partner to gauge wealth and wealth creation. So we said, if we mix all these parameters, the capital market, the growth of millionaires in India, and our sales trend, and I think we were able to come up with very good indexing of how the growth is. And now the big question that everybody asks naturally is, can we extrapolate it?
Yes.
Can it go in? So if you go one level deeper, again, there is a direct correlation between the per capita GDP, which used to be around $1,600 10 years back, to $3,000 now. And so you can see a doubling of the luxury car market as in the last 7-8 years. And that pace, there are two ways to look at it. One is you can say the so-called Hindu rate of growth, 6 to 8%. We can clearly then see the luxury car market going beyond 100,000 cars and then on and beyond. But I think what's significant is a big industrialization that would now be happening because of the India FTAs that's in there. And it's not just the EU FTA, but also the various other FTAs coming in. So our prognosis is clear that luxury consumption is at a tipping point. If you look at the number of people who want to drive a three-pointed star, that's growing by 20%. The sales and the revenue growth is still at 10 to 12%. So the aspiration is there, the wealth is getting created. So the prognosis is there should be a much more significant inflection point. You know, Rupert, couple of trivias. 25% of cars we sell are more than $150,000. India is the 5th biggest market for Maybach in the world. So that clearly shows the consumption, how it's changing, and it's more in the top end. And hardly 10% of cars we sell are all the 50,000 euro cars, I would say. So that's a very different mix compared to the rest of the world.
I mean, it's when you listen to those sort of stats, you can see the numbers growing, at the same time as the economy is growing as well. We've done events in the last 3 weeks, also in Shanghai, in Boston, in London, and today we're here in Mumbai. And you can see in many of these different countries the sort of the values of wealth and spending has changed as well. You know, we're going into a green sector. You know, the green economy is becoming more important. Everybody's talking about decarbonization. I was just talking to the entrepreneur behind Ujas, who was telling me that Indore, this city here in India, is the cleanest city in India. And how do you see these sort of trends, sort of changing as well?
So, for India, decarbonizing has two-pronged objectives. Number one is our dependence on forex, because there is a lot of oil is the biggest import bill for India. And the second is public health. One thing which I tell a lot of my expat colleagues, which is common between the China's inflection point and India's inflection point, is the air quality. It's quite terrible, basically in Delhi and even where I come from now, Pune. So with public health at stake, with the input, so the government has very clear agenda to decarbonize the sector. So that's one stakeholder who is committed and wanting to go at a rapid pace. The second is the OEMs. If you see, we keep saying there's no luxury without sustainability. We have a huge portfolio of electric as well as different powertrains, and we are committed to give. But I think that the biggest influencer is the customer. Is the customer ready to go in for sustainable solutions? And are they willing to pay a premium, actually, for sustainable mobility? And this is where your dependence on the government to subsidize any decarbonized form of mobility comes up. So I think India is going through that transition. Again, 6 years back, we launched the first EV in India. They were saying, why electric? Why are you launching? Yes. Then we localized a car. They asked us, why are you localizing a car? Today they are saying which EV, from why EV to which EV. I think India has gone a long way. 20% of the cars we sell in our top-end portfolio are all electric. So clearly that again shows a lot of traction from consumers, but still it's a very TCO argument. A lot will happen now globally as well in terms of AI getting into cars, a lot of software-defined vehicles, the chip-to-cloud architecture coming in place. So I think this is something that will get an inflection point for transformation to a greener mobility. Be it China, where they have almost been able to get these powertrains at 50% of the cost, what Germans or anybody else could do. Or I would still say the Europeans are brave enough. One of the things for consumer is, you need the capitalist mindset. Free market, allowed to compete, and then you make things better. So it's a matter of time. India also follows that path. Great OEMs in India who are doing it. And you will see India also going through an accelerated acceptance.
And I want to pick up on a point here, if you look at 2025, my understanding is that the Mercedes-Benz car sales volume went down. And some people might say, ooh, that's tough. But the revenues and your profit margins both went up. So you can sort of see everybody's talking about value over volume. And one of the things that I was looking at your profile before is that you've worked for 16 years, come right up with Mercedes-Benz, sort of from a humble salesperson through to now running, becoming the first Indian to run Mercedes-Benz here. So as a leader, how do you, what sort of decisions did you have to take to sort of accept lower volumes, but actually somehow manage to keep that premium? So I'm following up on the premium idea.
I think I was really happy to see Mr. Mariwala's comment and the closing comment that profitable growth, growth is important. I think that's oxygen. That's absolutely right. And profitable and sustainable growth. So I only resonate a lot with that, we cannot have growth at any cost. Last year, there were a lot of geopolitical headwinds, forex being fluctuating. So the pressure was there. But at the same time, I keep telling our dealer network, our sales guys that, if you look at the airline industry in India, there were very good airlines. I loved some of the older airlines in India. Unfortunately, both of them didn't exist because they went into a market share fight, and finally, they, in the quest of being number one, they both don't exist today, unfortunately, because they were great products actually in their own times as such. So for us, I think value over volume is important, the revenue and the profitable growth, because the residual value of cars also get affected if you go into deep discounting. So it's a very tough call. But I think the three-pointed star, the video clearly captured. We are there for 140 years, but we can't rest on that innovations. We need to reinvent ourselves. And for that, you need a lot of capital. Today, we are the only brand in the world to invest 13 billion euros in making new cars. If you need to get that cash for innovation, because again, I go back to the DNA of the brand. Our founding fathers said that there were two options. One, you make more and more cars. There was a brand in the US. They said one car, one color, we put up an assembly line. And there was we, as our principal said, we'll make cars better and better. the innovation. So if you go back to the founding principle and as the chairman of the board, and if you want to now really look at what will keep the three-pointed star shining and give it to the next generation, because I am a homegrown talent and my responsibility is to find my successor as well in a profitable way, then I think we have to take these calls. So last year, volumes were a bit flat, but our revenues grew double-digit. Profit was also okay. We were able to manage it, and I thought that's a much better strategy. But we will come back to growth again. I think the market is great, and we should come back to even a volume growth trajectory maybe this year.
Wonderful. Well, look, my final question today is actually going to be looking a little bit towards the future. You know, sort of, at the beginning, I started out asking, you know, we should try and identify what's India, how has the consumer, the Indian consumer, or the luxury consumer's definition of success changed? And I guess, you know, so as you look forward for the next 5 years, and, you know, as India sort of breaks through from number 4 to number 3 to the $5 trillion mark, what does the Indian luxury consumer's definition of success, how are you expecting it to change?
So firstly, you know, success in the past never meant self-reward. I think the biggest change that you can see today in the Gen Z and others, there is a big motivation to reward yourself for every small thing. So it's just not about cars, but even about luxury watches, to fancy homes, to vacationing. And there is an instant need that I need to reward myself much more because I've earned it. And that's a fundamental change in the societal change that we can see by wealth creators, by startups, by a lot of ecosystem. And they're not afraid. You know, sometimes when you are in that journey to spend, you have this apprehension to save more, or maybe what do my shareholders think? Is it too early? I think today luxury consumption boom is happening because that fear is not there. They're super confident that this is just the starting point. Not all make it for sure, but there are many who, most of them are high risk appetite, super confident, they are indulging, they are consuming luxury. I think that's the biggest change point that you can see in India from a very new generation who is consuming luxury.
Well, look, Santosh, thank you very much indeed. Today is just a very brief thing, but thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Santosh. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Iyer. Once again, I'm going to